Call to order for a regular meeting of the Goodyear City Council, February 8, 2010. All of our council members are in attendance. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation by Council Member Cavalier, please.
Would you please join me in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing and join me in prayer if you wish. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us. Bless this assembly and help this council make decisions that will be a positive force on our citizens. Protect our police and fire personnel as they perform their duties for our city. Bring our servicemen and women home safely, and we thank you for protecting them as they perform their duties, protecting us. All this we pray. Amen.
Thank you. All of our council members are in attendance. We have no expenditures to approve or ratify and no communications. Opportunity now for any citizen to address this council on any subject not on this evening's agenda. Would anyone like to address on the council on a non-agenda item?
Mayor Kavanaugh, I do have one speaker form that was filled out and sent to us online. Alex Petrolini.
Would you say that louder so we can?
Alex Petrolini, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Mr. Alex Petrolini, please. Apparently he's not with us. Okay, we'll now move to the consent agenda, and I'll ask the city clerk to read items A through C by title only.
Item A, approve a one-year lease with 3 additional optional one-year terms for the Estrella Mountain BMX track located south of MC 85 and west of Estrella Parkway. Item B, accept the dedication of 3 sewer easements associated with the Section 23 Sewer System Special Public Improvement Cost Recovery Area located within Section 23 north of Indian School Road and west of Cotton Lane. Item C, adopt Resolution 10-1361 authorizing a street name change of West Province Parkway South to West Academia Parkway South, generally located in the province at Estrella Mountain Ranch, Phase 1 Development, City of Goodyear, Maricopa County, Arizona, and establishing an effective date.
Thank you. Would anyone in the public wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, would anyone on council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Okay, could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Vice Mayor Lord and a second from Councilmember Cavalier. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Passes 6-0.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to the business part of our agenda, and we only have one item. So we'll now consider the resignation of Councilmember Antoniak and the process to fill his vacancy. Rorik Massey will present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This evening, the item you have in front of you regards the resignation last week of Councilmember Antoniak. His resignation set off a procedural chain of events that the council is going to need to undertake under the city charter to fill his seat. Under the terms of the city charter, once the vacancy on the council is formally recognized by the city council, you have 30 days in which to fill that position by a vote of the council. Otherwise, the matter is referred to the voters through a special election to fill the council member's seat. So the first item, you'll have 2 votes this evening. The first vote you'll have this evening is to formally recognize that there is a vacancy currently existing on the city council, and that'll start the 30-day clock running to tonight's date, in which the council will select a replacement for Mr. Antoniak. The second vote you'll have this evening is broadening on the procedure laid out in the city charter that I just briefly touched upon. The council adopted policy 98-2 back in 1998, which further spells out how the council will fill a council seat in the occurrence of a vacancy such as this one. And that involves the appointment of a subcommittee of the council to review applications, potentially conduct interviews of candidates and make recommendations to the entire council for the appointment of the replacement council member. So the second vote you'll take this evening is to appoint the 3 members of the remaining council to staff that subcommittee and make those recommendations to the council. A few other housekeeping matters is we kind of laid out a proposed timeline to allow the council to meet their obligations within that 30-day period. We would make the applications available to the public tomorrow through the city clerk's office, and in your packet this evening you have a proposed council vacancy application. That is the application that was used back in 2007. If the council has any other questions that they'd like added or any questions they'd like struck from that application, if you'll let us know this evening, we can amend that application for release tomorrow. Advertising, that's the only thing we can't change. Everything else is flexible. There's a couple things we can't change. We can't change advertisement because we're running an ad tomorrow, so that's already been placed. So if you tell me you don't want to start advertising tomorrow, we're maybe out of luck on that. But we'll start advertising in the newspaper tomorrow and online. We propose that applications be accepted through February 19th and close the application process at the close of business that date to allow the subcommittee a couple of weeks to do their work, to come back to the entire city council on March 8th, which is a normal Monday council meeting, to consider that recommendation and make an appointment by the council if that's the council's wish. The absolute drop-dead date would be March 10th. That'll be the 30th day. So if a replacement council member has not been appointed by that date, of course, then the matter will be referred to the voters through a special election. So procedurally, that's how the process, we propose laying the process out to the council this evening. Again, the first vote would be to formally recognize that there is currently a vacancy existing on the council. Then the council would consider the appointment of the subcommittee, review applicants to fill that position. And with that, I'm available for any questions you may have.
Mayor,
Yes.
ask a question.
Okay.
A question for you, Rourke. On the recommendation by the subcommittee, would it be normal or typical for that subcommittee to recommend their highest, maybe top 4 candidates, and that the council at that point review, when they make the recommendation, those 4 candidates to pick one off of? When you're talking about a recommendation of the subcommittee, it's not just one, or could it be one, or could it be multiple ones where the council actually, just like interviewing for a city manager, where they interview the top 4 candidates that they come up with and then make a decision off of that, or top 3, whatever that happens to be. Is that out of line?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I think that's certainly within the discretion of the council. I don't read Policy 98-2 so narrowly to preclude that, if that's what the council wished.
Not yet. I thought it was going to be another type of a question. Okay, opportunity now for the public. Would anyone in the public wish to comment? Again, it's on 2 subjects, the fact that we have a vacancy existing and appointing of the subcommittee. Mr. Gelser.
Gary Gelser. My question is really for the attorney. If the council does not make a selection by March 10th, could you tell me the date of the special election? And if maybe the city clerk could answer, would that special election cost us $45,000, which special elections have cost us in the past? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I would actually look at the clerk. I'm not sure what the council date is. Is it?
You need 120 days, and that would probably be September. And the the Board of Supervisors is considering an increase to the election fees, so we're looking at $65,000 now.
Okay. I'd like to move on the first subject. That seems pretty clear-cut. Recognize a vacancy exists. And could I first have a motion to recognize that a vacancy will exist on the City Council as of February 8, 2010?
Moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Susan, a second from Councilmember Osborne. Are there any discussions on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it 6-0. Okay, we'll now move to appointing a subcommittee to review application for appointment and to conduct interviews of applicants as deemed necessary to make a recommendation for appointment. So let's open up for discussion before we take a motion on that.
Mayor.
Yes.
You want to start on this end? I appreciate your your thoughts of having the senior people being the subcommittee, on the subcommittee. I do have a feeling, though, that as a council, we elect a vice mayor, and that's someone that we respect to be in that position. And I feel as respect, I believe that you, the mayor, and our vice mayor, and then our senior council members should, quite frankly, be on that. That's my personal opinion, but that is where I feel respect is due in this circumstance. As for the other area of, do we want to see 1 to 4 people to be considered by us all for appointment, I mean, that's something that the subcommittee could discuss. I haven't really decided whether I'd rather see 1 or 3, because if we have 1 to choose on, we either all choose that person, which is probably the best. If we have 3, it splits our votes, and then we have to, in public, speak of a person either right or wrong. So that's difficult also. But that's something that I think we need to take on, because we don't want to be spending $65,000 for a special election. So that's my opinions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
In my opinion, the entire council should be on the selection subcommittee. I believe we need a more diversified group, one that gives representation of more of the voters in Goodyear. If necessary, bring a neutral member from the outside of the council. And secondly, if this is impossible due to the charter, then again, in my opinion, the council needs a percentage of the applicants to vote on whatever method is decided upon, not just one name to be considered for the position. And thirdly, we could have a finalist or final number of people come before us in a public forum and just present themselves. It would be just a very informal presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Take care of it. Thank you.
Yes.
Again, I guess to add to what Joanne had mentioned, I kind of like, and again, the vice mayor would be a good choice also on there. I was leaning towards maybe somebody, a little broader, somebody with a business background. I would even be to having Joanne sit on there as a member, as well. So, and I know, to me specifically, I think it's important. I don't want to relegate our responsibility to a subcommittee, and I'm not necessarily in favor of all 6 of us sitting on there, but I think it's real important, like we did with the budget committee, that the 3 members unanimously decide on what their top 3, and I'll even go as low as 3 top candidates are. And I think it's up to the council themselves to, at that time, see, if like an interview process, just like they would interview for a city manager, who they would want their colleague to be sitting up there with them for that period of time. I just think that's kind of fair for all. If we put it all in the hands of the 3, then we actually are relegating our responsibility to the 3 members. So that's why I would like them to come back with a unanimous recommendation of at least 3 for us to pick from.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to make my comments if I could. I like the idea of the 3 elder council members being on their committee and selecting at least 3 people, but I think no more than 3 people to come forward to the council and the council vote on one of those 3. Now, if we need to, I don't know whether we need to discuss this among the council it would be an executive session, because I think we want to get into personalities. I don't think that's something we want to bring into the public as far as how we do this. But I do like the idea of, we've been on this council the longest time, the 3 of us, and I think in my mind, 3 of us should be the ones who select the at least 3 candidates for finalists for this position.
Okay, if I could respond to that. There's 6 people here who are qualified to be on this subcommittee, okay? And I would suspect there's 6 people that would like to be on this subcommittee. If it deals with a council vacancy or a council matter, the mayor probably should be on it. I think most people would agree with that. Selection of the other 2, and if you have more than 3, then it's got to be an open meeting.
Right.
And I don't think our citizens want their names and their aspects of their life and performance to be broadcast.
No.
So that's my concern with putting this out for the public. even giving 3 names, and if that's what you insist on, we'll have to do that. But I don't want to talk about the positives and negatives and argue for or against someone in a public forum who's one of our 62,000 residents. So if they were running for election, that's a different story, but they're just trying to help out. And so I have a problem with that, but that's just my feeling. As far as the 3 people, we've had 3 people who are or were a vice mayor, okay? Councilmember Souza, Councilmember Cavalier, each spent 2 years as vice mayor. We have one who's now in her first year as vice mayor and is the second year on our council and performs her duty in absence of the mayor. That's what our charter says. So it just seemed to me that I wanted to remove all issues about personal characteristics, business background. Every one of those is arguable, but this isn't. You pick the 3 people with the most experience on council and you let them do it. It isn't really ignoring or avoiding anyone else. It's just trying to get us satisfying the open meeting law, protecting the privacy of those who would want to serve, and then providing, how we provide that as a subcommittee to the entire council probably should be left to the discretion of the 3 people. If there's any question among those 3 people about who should be on, then the entire council has to deal with it. But what if we had one that we all just agreed with, and we're sure that that was number 1? Do you really need to see all the others? Or do you trust the discretion and judgment of those 3 people that were on the subcommittee? So that's the rationale. It's arguable. I just want to protect the privacy of our folks.
I did not mean that we would be using them in a competitive form if they came before us. It would be 3 names, and it would be a ballot vote, and it would be a secret ballot vote, so we wouldn't be, we would know who voted for whom. I wouldn't do that to our citizens. But I still feel that our committee, senior that you all may be, and I respect that, are not diversified enough. I don't see a woman on it, and I don't see an age variance. Now, maybe I can't do that anymore in this day and age. I don't know. Is that against HR that you can't express those views? But I think that's what we're lacking in this committee, and that's why I bring this forth.
Well, that's the reason I wanted to recommend that the vice mayor be a part of the selection committee. And
Vice mayor's as old as the rest of us.
pardon me?
Yes, but I'm a woman, and I don't think you can claim that.
And she's a woman.
Challenge me on that one.
That is.
I don't think that has any.
Before the council.
Do you want a motion?
I don't think I want to argue this too much, because if we have a motion and we want to be supportive of this.
Right, but her position as vice mayor, I think, should be a part of this.
Okay,
selection.
then are you willing to step aside?
Me? No. I should.
Well,
I'm saying there should be 4 members of the committee.
As long as it includes you. No, it cannot be 4.
Why can't?
That's 3.
Because open meeting law violation.
See that because
You don't want to review 20 applications with the public. It's not fair to the people who applied. We cannot have more than 3. If we have more than 3, we should have 6. But if I were one of them, I wouldn't want my history and my family and what I do published.
I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the select committee that's going to review.
It can't do it in
Can't
private.
do it with 4 people.
It can only do it in public.
You're talking about a quorum of the council at that point. So it would,
just like if we
Be an
go to
open
an
meeting.
event, they have to publicize it,
Right.
and it has to be open. I mean, everybody's invited
Yeah.
to it if we're there, if over
Yeah,
more
whenever we
people.
get together, we always know more than 3.
Right.
Rourke, won't all information submitted on the application be public record?
Oh, come on,
Mr.
Joe.
Mayor, members of the
Who's going to
council.
go looking for that
I'm
stuff?
just asking.
there is some precedent that in an application process, you can keep that type of information confidential until you get to the point of a finalist, because you want to respect the privacy interests of persons applying. That's generally in a employee application scenario. So we would have to look at whether or not that were in fact public record.
What happens when, if within the three itself, that that's a 2-1 vote, and the person that's, the outside of that vote, that's my concern, is that the individual would not have a say really in the selection. It'd be out to himself. Either one of the three.
How about if we make it mandatory that has to be 3-0 for a person to be presented before the entire council? There could be several 3-0s, but I agree. If there's two, it should be 3-0. You should agree this should be forwarded to council, whether you agree with that person's view or not.
Okay.
Like, if you had a different view than I would want yours to be presented with mine.
Mr. Mayor, we have to trust the integrity of the three people on this council. They're going to pick, because of the information that is on that application, even if we have to do interviews, they're going to pick the most qualified person. If we're going to make a recommendation for one person, it's you want the most qualified person on the council. Is that not correct? And I think that no one would argue that point. I don't see what the point here of going into all this argument over, other than the fact that it sounds to me as though there are some favorites out there, and we haven't even looked at applications or know who the people are that are going to apply. This is simply selecting the most qualified person or persons and bringing that to the city council for a vote. And I don't see that how we select that person, other than the fact that I think the people with the most experience ought to be the people doing the selecting, period.
Now that I'm going to have to say no to, because quite frankly, even though you are my elder, and you are also, yes, you are, and you are also have been on this council longer, I feel that I'm just as qualified to be able to pick an applicant as you are. Human nature is human nature, and I can read that through anyone, whether I've been on council 2.5 years or 10. So I'm going to have to say no to that.
Well, I disagree with that in the fact that during my tenure on the council, I have attended, and I think the mayor is the other one I know that has, attended many courses in the League of Cities, what is that thing called? Their
Leadership thing.
Leadership.
But we don't want to argue this.
No, we don't. But I'm just saying, because we're talking about qualifications, if you want to go into that, we have studied those kinds of things, how you communicate and how you select and how you do these kinds of things. So, yeah, I think there is. It's more than just a good feeling about someone. It's the qualification of that person, and I think it should be very factual.
No, I don't disagree with you, Frank. I mean, as a former manager, I've sat on panels and hired a lot of people, and believe it or not, out of a panel of 3, sometimes all 3 of us have a different idea who was most qualified. So, there could be some discrepancies there among people. So, I still go back to, I don't want to advocate the responsibility from my perspective, sitting up here on the council, especially somebody I'm going to be working with. I'd be willing to go with the top 3, but I think it's important that we have a say in that.
Well, yeah, everybody will have a say in it. That's not even an issue. It's a matter of staying within the law, protecting the privacy of those who apply. Everyone's qualified to do this. I just wanted a criteria which no one really can feel hurt by. It's just something that exists because of time and experience. These people have been reelected several times. They've proven their worth. There's credit due for that, I think, and this is an easy way to come to an agreement on 3 people. We probably don't want to discuss it too much because it starts to get foolish when we start discussing this too much. So if someone objects, would anyone object to the motion as I suggested it?
Which motion is that?
That's the three most experienced council members.
I would.
Okay, but do you object to having it a motion?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Does anybody object to the motion? Okay.
Let me ask you a
We
question.
need to move on it, correct?
Let me ask you a question too, Councilman Osborne. You were kind of leading to this committee being the total council?
I'm sorry?
Were you leading to this total council being a part of the committee, the subcommittee?
No, because I don't think we can do that. No, it needs to be 3. I recognize that. No, I wasn't. I was leading to that it should be the 3 right here in the middle, is what I was leading to. It should be our mayor, our vice mayor, and our eldest council member. That's how I
That would
view
be
it.
4 people then.
Are you,
She's excluding Councilmember Cavalier.
yeah.
And you may have gotten the impression, because I think in my talk I said I wanted more people to be brought before, I wanted more names, maybe their top 5, top 3 or what, because my interpretation was that they would bring one name before us, and then we unanimously put that. That's where I had my confusion. But they're stating more people, they would have maybe 3 people, I don't know.
Yeah, to me, we should leave that up to the subcommittee. It could be more than 3, frankly. But there was a suggestion by the mayor. Frank, are you willing to put that in as a motion?
Yes, I move that we have the 3, how do you call it, elder council members, the mayor and 2 elder council members, which are the 3 elder.
I don't think they're called elder, but
What do you?
Senior.
Senior council members
most, yeah,
as a
okay.
appointed as a subcommittee to review the applications for appointment for the council seat.
Mr. Mayor, before you have a second, I don't know if your motion wants to clarify whether it's one recommendation or multiple. That probably should be in the motion.
I think that's what we should decide at the time, because we have no idea it's going to apply
At the subcommittee level?
as a subcommittee.
I just think procedurally you need to clarify that.
Leave it to the discussion of the subcommittee.
That sounds like that's what the motion.
All right.
And add that to leave it to the discretion of the subcommittee.
The word elder is,
Okay,
would be misconstrued. Why don't you say the names?
Say the names. Okay.
In view of the
Mayor Kavanaugh, Councilman Souza, and Councilman Cavalier as members of the subcommittee to review the applications and make recommendations. And how else do you, what did you, and make recommendations, whether it be 1 or 3.
Okay, everyone understand the motion? Okay, is there a second? Okay, I would second the motion. In fact, I'll relinquish my seat. You take the mayor's position, okay?
Okay, so where are we at now? Do we do a?
We have a motion.
Give a motion and a
I-
second.
I'm
Second.
relinquishing my seat, and I'll second the
It's not
motion.
individual.
You have the
vote.
chair.
Pardon me?
You have the chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sorry. At this point, my first time I've ever done this. Do I
Okay.
ask, Mayor, do I ask for public
You have a
comment?
motion and a second.
Yes. Public
Okay.
comment?
No.
No?
No.
All right.
You can have council discussion.
Council discussion?
Yeah, I think it should be clarified it should be at least more than 1. I don't like the idea up to 1 or more. I like more than 1, so I will be voting no.
Well, can we change the motion to eliminate that and make that a separate motion?
An amendment?
Well, I still have a problem without having a female on there, so, I mean, it doesn't make
No,
any
but I
difference.
want you to vote against it for that reason.
Okay, all right, yeah, my reasoning is I think there should be more than 1, so do I amend the motion? That the subcommittee will recommend at least more than 1 applicant to the full committee to select?
Can we call it a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Yeah, he's offering an amendment.
Okay, well, I'll second it.
All those in favor?
What is the
The
amendment?
amendment.
How many? 3?
I'm just saying more than 1.
Well, do we need to name more than 1? Do you want to leave it up that loose? I would think not. I think we should have a number on it.
Well, that's his amendment.
We can probably find support for that. That's a motion, if I might help a little bit.
Yeah, you
That's-
need to help me on this.
That's a motion strictly associated with the number of people that would be submitted by the subcommittee to the committee.
Correct.
Okay, and that motion was one or more than one.
More than one.
That's an amendment to the motion.
It's amendment to the main motion. So you,
And do I hear a
have a
second? We've had a
second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
fails. 3-3.
Okay, so now I'm back as chair.
Yes.
Okay, let's move to the other.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, the amendment failed. You still have the main motion on the floor.
Main motion.
The main motion on the floor, and therefore,
She's still the chair.
Vice Mayor is the chair.
And the main motion we're talking about is,
The appointment to the subcommittee of the mayor, Councilmember Cavalier, Councilmember.
all those in favor of appointing the 3 senior members of council for the subcommittee, do I hear the ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays?
Nay.
Nay.
Aye.
So you have a 3-3, which also fails.
So what do you want to do?
Okay, so that completes that motion.
Completes that.
I return to the seat as
Yes.
chair. Okay, if I were out there and I was thinking about running, I think I wouldn't think about running anymore. This is a little frustrating, isn't it, on occasion? But anyway, for all of us. So,
You know, Mayor,
okay.
if it has to do with me personally, I mean, I'll step back and have Joanne be on this committee. You know, I have to tell you, Joanne was on the committee, and another member, Joe, was on our committee to pick the budget committee. And I have to tell you, it's an outstanding committee. I am so pleased with that committee, and I'm looking for wonderful results from that. And so I don't see the idea that a senior versus a new member is going to change that dynamic.
I was on that committee.
Yeah, you were. But you had 2 others on that committee that were not senior members of the council. So,
I did not want to rule anybody out for any other reason other than the obvious reason that some have more experience that have been on it longer. That seems to respect their service, which is important, and it doesn't show any preference to any of the 6 of us. That's why I did it. I think it makes a lot of sense. But I don't want us to get into an argument here about the quality or qualification of any of us. If so, we should adjourn and pick it up next week.
Mayor, and I agree with you. It was a respect, and I think what you said makes sense. I do. As my respect, I felt that the vice mayor should have that ability to be part of it, and that was with respect again. So we view it differently. You were saying of tenure, and I was saying respect of position, and position of this council picked her as being our vice mayor. So, you know, even though Frank has been a vice mayor and Dick's been a vice mayor, I understand that, but this body picked her as our vice mayor, and so that's why I felt she should be part of this.
I don't see if that has anything to do with it.
Let me try to stop this discussion. I will remove myself from the committee and ask the vice mayor to take my position. Does that satisfy everybody?
I said to the staff before this, if any one of the 3 of us wished to remove themselves, then the vice mayor would be next in line by this criteria.
Okay. So that would be my suggestion.
Does that satisfy everyone?
I thank you, Mr. Sousa.
Mr. Souza, would you make the motion?
Yes. That as a member of the subcommittee, I will remove myself from the committee in favor of the vice mayor taking my position. Period.
So in effect, you have a motion to appoint Mayor Kavanaugh, Vice Mayor Lord, and Councilmember Cavalier.
So moved. Need a second? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Which, Mayor, which amendment, are we one or more? Do we still have that, or does that have to come back in again?
No.
So right now, the recommendation would be you would come back with just one, or what's?
No, we need to get back to that.
Okay.
You're,
You're ahead of us.
Okay.
well, or behind us, one of the two, I'm not
Yeah.
sure, because the motion was bewildering,
Okay.
frankly. But do I have a motion and a second to have Mayor Kavanaugh, Vice Mayor Lord, and Councilmember Cavalier on the subcommittee to provide recommendations to the entire council within 2 or 3 weeks?
Correct.
Okay. Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Okay, let's get now, how many recommendations are necessary? Okay, is that the question?
Yeah, that's the question.
And there was 3. You wanted 3. The motion was 1 or more. No, more than 1.
More than
and you
one.
voted against it for that reason.
More than one I voted for, but the rest, it
You
got
voted
killed.
against it. That's why it was
Yeah.
It
bewildering.
was
Okay.
confusing.
Oh, was it? Okay, well,
So you don't oppose more than 1?
I don't oppose more than one.
Okay.
Then that was a mistake.
Then I think can we do that motion again?
Just make a, why don't you just make another motion?
I make a motion that we recommend more than one candidate for the council position.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that the subcommittee will make a recommendation that includes more than one candidate for the 7th council position.
Okay, now, can we discuss that?
Yes.
Thank you. So if that occurs, if you bring, as the subcommittee, 3 applicants that you feel are worthy of that position, how are we going to, without bringing, a bunch of personality and issues about a person in front of the public, how are we going to talk about those people amongst us 6 to come up with one person out of those 3?
Just present the names.
The COAC should probably contain their application, so that's what you'll have.
Okay.
And we have to be very careful of how we enunciate our views on the subject,
Right.
because they're all going to be good people
Oh, I know.
who want to serve.
I don't think our intent, does anybody think their intent is that?
What if it comes to light that there is one person that shines out from the rest, and you still have to bring 3 because we've put it in a form this way? Could it not be that we leave this to the discretion of the subcommittee? Do we have to outline a number?
That's what I wanted.
That's
You
what he
want to
wanted.
have a number?
No, I
he
wanted to
to
leave
have
it up to
I want to leave it to
discretion.
the subcommittee personally,
Oh, I do too.
myself.
I think that way
Well,
should
that's
be.
what I wanted.
I'm sorry, Joe. You were
That's
the one
okay.
that wanted. You were the one.
I'm just concerned about advocating our responsibility as a council. If the recommendation comes back with 1, then really there's only 1 to vote for. So that's kind of where I was kind of coming from, from that perspective. That's all, But obviously it looks like, swing any other way, and I can live with that too. So, but that's where I was kind of coming from as far as wanting more than 1. So we weren't advocating our responsibility as far as the selection process. That's all.
I'm satisfied either way. I don't care.
Yeah, we could come with 4 or 5, because we can only agree these are 4 or
Might be
5
just
great
2.
people and submit them all. So if we go with 1 plus,
That covers it.
we can explain to the
Or it might be all three of us
okay, I
decide
can-
on
yeah.
just one person.
I know.
I won't bring that up again.
So if we say 1 or more.
One or more.
We
There you
know
go.
there's 1, but that leaves the subcommittee coming
That's fine.
back and saying, you know what, there is just 1.
Because it sounds like that's what everybody's leaning towards.
So
So.
a 1 or more, is that a friendly amendment, or does it?
Assume it's a friendly amendment?
Okay. Who made the motion? I can't remember.
I made the motion.
Okay. There's a friendly amendment to the motion to change it from more than 1 to 1 or more.
Second. I don't know that we had.
Further discussion?
No?
All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 6-0. Okay.
Now, that was the amendment. Let's get the motion on the table.
friendly amendments. That was the main motion.
Oh, okay.
Let's get out of this
Let's get
procedural
out of
morass.
this. Yes.
Okay, we'll now move to information that council members reporting on their current events. I have one.
I have one.
Okay, I just.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, do that one first.
I was at the YMCA, and they had the Champions of Giving Day, and quite a few people showed up for it. It was outside, and they presented to you, the residents and staff of the City of Goodyear, the 2009 Champions of Giving. And be assured, if it weren't for those who preceded us in 2004 in that era, there wouldn't be a Y here. And since that time, you've continued to support them, so they're very thankful to you for that.
Are you still on the board?
Yeah.
Okay, I checked with this for the lawyer, so you know that I've done this. But the other evening when we had the Estrella group up here and we were having discussions on a development, I made probably an insensitive statement when I said to them, shame on you that you did not read the papers. So I'm going to retract that and just say that to those homeowners, it is your responsibility and all of our responsibilities to always read any legal paper that we sign, that we need to sign, because sometimes the repercussions of that cannot be corrected, and it puts people in a box, and you can't help them in a way that you might want to help them. Now, as far as my activities, this week I testified before the Foreign Trade Zone Board that came here from Washington, D.C., chaired by Christopher Kemp and sponsored by Westmark, just in favor of having trade zones, which I think is going to be a great benefit to our economic development. I attended the Westmark luncheon with many of my colleagues, and we had two speakers there. Dennis Hoffman from ASU gave a presentation on the economic condition of Arizona. It was an excellent, excellent presentation, and I would like, Mayor, to perhaps suggest that maybe our budget committee could get a copy of that, because I think it was most helpful. I attended a very special event at the Thunderbird School of Global Management called World Night, and the invitation came to me because I'm on the GPEC International Committee. It was delightful. Before we left, I was cueing Ron on what to say about Goodyear, the good things we've done and all that. And when we entered the door, I was so surprised. People came up to me and said, oh, we've heard about Goodyear and all the good things that are happening. Talked about the solar, talked about the colleges, talked about the city center. So I have to say, Mayor, the people of the college do know, and a lot of that is due to how progressive you've been in your term, and so it was delightful.
Yeah, well, I just have a small. I had a guest here from a professor from the University of Edinburgh, Scotland, and he spent the day with me last Tuesday, and I took him on a tour of Goodyear. His specialty is architecture, and he also is an authority on sustainable cities, and he goes around the world making these presentations on sustainable cities, and he gives examples of both. He saw the city of Goodyear, and he gave us some good and bad news from his perspective. One, you're a city of sprawl. You need to infill. We knew that. Number two, you have probably the nicest PAD development that he's ever seen in Estrella Mountain Ranch, and would like to even buy a home up there. But he said the answer to our problem, he says, number one, get those universities to Goodyear. He says, I've seen that all over the world, and when the city brings in the universities or a university, it changes the entire temper and the character of that city, and it grows in a positive manner. So I just thought I'd share that with the rest of the council, since he is an authority, and he was here doing a presentation in Phoenix, and he, as I said, he's been a friend of mine now for several years, and is I thought gave me some very remarkable perspective on our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Osborne.
You know, last week or the week before, we had an update from our police department about our crime statistics and actually how well we were doing. And I would like to give the recognition that the police department deserves. As my teens would say, we're giving them props, which is the new word for kudos, so you guys know. But yeah, no, it's props. It's, you know, for 14 years, I've had my business in our town, and the police department, our city, sorry, the police department has been underfunded and understaffed for quite a long time. And I know that they have, on a shoestring budget, done everything possible to help control crime, to be a positive impact on our schools. I really do believe that our school districts, as of late, have recognized that in the SRO programs. And I just really feel that they deserve that recognition. So I really appreciate everything you're doing, and I know that Goodyear is a better place because of your duties. So Chief Brown and rest of your group, you know, please take that. As for things, share that. Thank you. As for activities, actually this morning I attended a roundtable discussion regarding a regional issue that we are having with homeless children and teens. And, you know, really it has come to light. It's kind of been a hidden issue, but I think there's a lot of great people that want to make a difference out there. Also, our education committee, secondary education, met last week, and we're finalizing a product, hopefully, that we'll be able to share with Goodyear, and that's with our 6 school districts. And I attended the Vineyard Church ribbon cutting, and also was at the YMCA with the mayor, with the receiving the champion giving, and and Westmark. Thank you. So it's been a good 2 weeks. I unfortunately, just so you all know, will not be here on February 22nd. I'm gone for a week, and I really wish I was going to be here. This sounds like a huge, huge night, but I just needed to let you all know that I will not be here.
Okay, thank you.
Just the Westmart, I thought, was an excellent presentation. In fact, that professor's presentation on the economics and where we're going, and especially on the state balancing its budget, was very enlightening. So, again, I would love to see that individual, if possible, even do a presentation at a work session here. Because like the realtors that were here the other day, it was very eye-opening and very informative. And not only that, for a college professor, he put it in English. So very easy to understand. So.
Thank you. Councilor Souza?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, there were 6 teachers that were recognized statewide, and one of the teachers is from the Litchfield School District. I can't remember her name, and I would ask the staff, if you can, come up with that. Maybe we make a presentation with her when we find out. Right?
Good idea. Yeah, we can do that, can't we? Sure. Present it in council? Present some kind of proclamation in council. Okay, cool.
All right.
Okay, city manager.
Nothing to say for this.
Any inquiries of staff by council? Meeting is adjourned.